What's up, guys? It's your boy Richie Skye back with another video. Skye Squad, I see you. We are in the building. And today I'm talking to Sarah Galli. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about her. Okay, for those of you guys who don't know, she is the host and co creator of Andy's Girls. And she is a certified Bravo-holic. And this is a whole nother level of expertise that we're talking about right now, okay? I just want you guys to know that. That is a huge thing. And can we talk about that first? Because that was so exciting.
Yeah.
That was the last thing she mentioned right before we got started. Yeah. And I'm like, and I've talked to her, I feel like I've talked to you a lot over the past couple of months.
I may not have mentioned it. Isn't that terrible? I'm like the worst hype person where right before I'm like, oh, you know what? There was that thing that the network was at. Which may be of interest when we start talking about all the shit that has gone down. So the network anointed about 20 of us Bravoholics from all around the country last year to be quote unquote certified Bravoholics, which has enabled us to attend exclusive events. And it's it has been an honor. And with that certification, I hope comes a little bit of gravitas expertise, especially when having the kind of conversations that we're going to have today. So shout out to Bravo. I hope that's not rescinded. I don't know where the paperwork is. Maybe I got lost in the mail. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there.
We will not get you into trouble today. Okay. So I thought it would be kind of cool. And this is kind of like the first of one of the, I guess what I'm trying to do weekly. And, to really talk about the issues, talk about the headlines, talk about what's happening. And one of the most talked about headlines of this part of the week, I'm not even talking about Real Housewives of Potomac. I'm not talking about Nene Leakes quitting. I'm talking about Kelly Dodd. Okay. Now, to me, I actually wanted to have a conversation with you when the Teddy stuff came out. And I think I texted you about it, but I was in the middle of a move and I was like, Teddy girl, you got to wait. Okay.
There's a lot. She'll always be there. The shadow will remain. Yeah.
And then lo and behold, she's axed. Okay. We'll touch on that maybe a bit in this, after we get through this Kelly stuff, because it's kind of important at this point. I just want to dive in. Like, can we just go ahead and pull up the receipts?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, so I'm actually taking this from Sarah's Instagram page, so you guys make sure that you follow her. I'll make sure that I put that information down below for you guys, or I'll just pop it up on the screen right here. But we got to talk about Kelly Dodd in this Drunk Wives Matter hat, okay? Problematic to say the least, right? Can you tell us a little bit about what you kind of witnessed from Kelly over the past couple of months? Because I know you've been following a lot of what's been going on in pop culture, specifically with our reality television stars as it relates to, the pandemic as well as Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to start by saying, I think she's been she's been in the conversation for several months because of increased awareness and attention directed to Black Lives Matter, but she has been a garbage person since birth. So I think it's important to recognize that the Kelly that we were initially introduced to has reintroduced herself. The only difference now is that people may be dying as a result of her behavior online, which is like a different level of housewife antagonist. So she became particularly concerning when she went from using her platform to say things that were inappropriate or reactive or combative, which has essentially helped her keep her job, to saying things that it inspired the spread of misinformation specific to coronavirus, saying that this wasn't a deadly disease, which she has continued to say as recently as today, that it wasn't a deadly disease. There was nothing to be afraid of. Masks aren't preventative, and so on and so forth. And then, you know, after the murder of George Floyd, she has said many terrible, just purely liquid racist comments on social media, including that Black Lives Matter protesters are animals and terrorists. Why can't we be more like England? Which, okay, let's think about that a little bit, Cal. She's said a lot of stuff, and what Kelly Dodd has the great talent and ability to do is say these incredibly inflammatory, purely racist comments on social media, and then a couple hours later delete them, which I refer to as a dirty delete. So she'll say something incredibly inflammatory and then disappear it from the interwebs, which makes her MAGA crowd feel like they've been heard and kind of destroys that other larger, I would say, when it comes to like the loudness of platforms, audience of people who think racism is a bad thing, and Black Lives Matter supporters. So whether it's because someone is whispering in her ear privately or because she wants to move on to the next terrible thing, it's been difficult to track, because once she posts something, in a couple hours, she will herself remove it, which makes the everyday Bravoholic fan think, wait, where was that thing that I just saw that you did? Which is kind of a manipulation of the use of her platform, and also just kind of a gaslighting, I would say, for a lot of Bravo fans who are just trying desperately to keep up, because there are so many terrible things that she's said. But I think this most recent incident, which was her posting videos and photos to stories in Maine of wearing a Drunk Wives Matter hat, was particularly obnoxious because it invokes racism with her role as a Real Housewife. And so for Bravo fans, it's like, isn't it bad enough that in your free time you say racist things? Now you're also doing it with a wink and a nod to your role on Orange County with a new season essentially days away. I think that's what got a lot of people's attention.
So I want to actually, and I just want to say, just incredibly well spoken. You summed it up magnificently, because the post and delete stuff I wasn't even aware of. You know, I knew about the things that she was saying, but she had become someone who I just kind of stopped following that closely, because I think when she first came onto the show, you know, I think she was rewarded for her bad behavior.
Right.
And I thought that Heather Dubrow, while I thought that in that moment she was overly dramatic, but she called it then, and she said this is low base behavior.
Right.
And then she sort of lost me when she was in tears on the way home, but that always has stuck out to me, that moment where she had just had enough, and maybe she saw something that we did not see at the time. You know what I'm saying? That we're seeing now. So I like when you said that she is reintroducing herself to us. So after she posted this, she got a lot of backlash, and then I want to go ahead and this is also from your Instagram, but it is literally taken from her IG story, if I'm correct, what she posted after the backlash. So let's watch that really quickly.
So I didn't buy that hat.
It was a gift. I'm sorry. We were so inconsiderate.
Yeah, I did not want you put there. Everyone's like, "Oh, is she mocking?" No, it was a gift. It was my it's my bridal shower.
It was a joke.
I didn't buy it. It was a joke.
And that was out way before any of that started. She said that, right? The lady that made the hat said she made that hat before any of it.
Drunk Wives Matter.
They kind of do.
They kind of do. You know what? All lives matter. Lives.
So sorry.
So sorry. She bought it for me.
Actually,
it was her. It's Tiffany.
She thought it made the gift.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It made us so
I thought it
went
was.
With the suit.
It was a joke, and so people that can't get a joke.
So she literally kind of doubled down on her statement. She doubled down on her statement. She even included the All Lives Matter for those of us who didn't know that was her perspective.
Mm-hmm.
She said it was a joke. Her girlfriend co-signed it. And then, she said it was before all this stuff. It was made before all this stuff. And I'm like, that in and of itself is also problematic as well. But then she tells the people that they can go F themselves. What's your thoughts on this?
I mean, I didn't go to ASU, unlike Kelly, so maybe it's gone over my head a little bit, but I would say Black Lives Matter, to my understanding, was created and became viral in 2013. This hat was made probably yesterday, so it's just a lack of information and genuine curiosity and empathy that has led to Kelly's just complete blanketed and bubble of ignorance. She said in her comments, she's been very combative with people, called those calling out her behavior whack jobs on Instagram main. She said Purple Lives Matter. She said that people don't get it, that they just don't understand that they need to have a sense of humor. And so she says both this merch was created before Black Lives Matter, as well as it's a play on words, which we understand it's a play on words, Kelly. Like that's why we're upset, is because it's a play on words. But again, I don't know. I went to school in New York City. I didn't go to ASU, so it's like lost in translation a little bit. But it just, on my podcast, Andy's Girls, the focus of the pod, you have guessed it and been so fantastic, is on the psychology and behavior behind how these housewives exist on TV, the mix of reality, being inside the bubble of reality TV, and actual real life. And the problem with Kelly is, among other things, she lacks basic empathy. She has no interest in understanding, sympathizing, or feeling the pain of others. She is only interested in surrounding herself with people who feel exactly as she does at all times. And it is that bubble-esque thinking that has led to the kind of combative, reactive behavior that she's been exhibiting, which is enveloped in a lot of hate. And she, much like some of her favorite people on TV and in government, is only interested in her own echo chamber, and she uses critique as fuel for her own troll-like energy. So it's difficult for those of us to call out her behavior online, because in many ways we're just feeding the troll. So it's been a struggle for those of us within the Bravo community to decide when and how to react to this, because in many ways, calling her out excites her. It fuels her fire. It makes her feel like she's been heard, she's being seen, she's being celebrated, even if that celebration is a lot of people saying you should be fired. It's essentially, at the end of the day, attention, which is what she wants. I think the reason that this week crossed the line for so many people is because her new season is coming out. The network's press release talking about the plot for this upcoming season includes the fact that Kelly's politics is a plot point. And to me, as a white woman, I don't think that there's anything entertaining about racism. And I think that within the Bravo community, we're having this conversation around, like, what's the code of conduct of being a Bravo celebrity on Bravo TV? You can still be a terrible, monstrous, complicated person and not be racist. We have so many housewives who are terrible people who we love to loathe, who aren't also explicitly racist. And for those of us in the Bravo community, if Kelly is making a check this season based in many ways on explicit racism, why isn't the network taking a stand? For me, the attention has shifted away from Kelly's racist behavior, which we have seen examples of since she was cast, when she was outside of a club in LA talking about how she doesn't like Black men and doesn't know any and blah, 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 blah. There have been examples of this behavior. We have been introduced to the real Kelly since the day that she signed on. It's just that we decided now, that there is many of us, I would say overwhelmingly white people or non-Black people have decided now that we should have known better then. And we are trying to essentially make amends by saying, we hear the critique. We are doing our best to be active allies, and she does not deserve to be compensated for racism.
Absolutely.
Like, it's enough. And so, you know, a lot of the focus for me this week on social media and on previous episodes of Andy's Girls is to say, we know Kelly is garbage. Sure, this is a fireable offense, or should be, but why is the network not saying anything? Because that, to me, is the actual issue and the question. The network has said nothing publicly ever, to my knowledge, explicitly about Kelly's racism, and also about the spread of misinformation. The closest to my knowledge that we've ever gotten was Andy sidestepping it on an episode of his show on Radio Andy by saying, you know, Kelly, don't look at Kelly to be your primary doctor. When, to me, my concern is Bravo gave her this platform, created the platform for her, has amplified it, and will continue to through this season. Why aren't they taking any responsibility for an employee who is using her loud voice, which was created by the network, to say racist things? Like, why, if you're not going to fire her, which again, I put aside, why aren't you saying that this is wrong? That's where myself as a voice in the Bravo community and a Bravo-holic, I have a lot of concern and frustration. Right.
You know, and so speaking of that frustration, I think it was the overwhelming amount of frustration that, you know, people were expressing that caused her to do what she did next. So I want to take it on over to your Instagram again. And I want to read you to the viewers, I want to read the statement that Kelly made in response to the backlash. She says, "Over the weekend at my bridal shower, I got lots of gifts and briefly displayed them. One was a hat with a play on words, since I'm about to be a wife. I'm on Housewives TV show and might be drunk once in a while. It was not intended to offend or make any kind of statement. Of course, I support Black lives and racial equality. Thank you. Love, Kelly." Okay, so before we even touch on this, because I feel like this was clearly mandated by someone on her team, and if it wasn't, I mean, where is her team? Okay, there's a question on the table, but I would love for you to read your statement, because I feel like it sums up what so many people were feeling, and I feel like you so eloquently stated it in a way that I was just like blown away.
Well, thank you for that, and I'm happy to read it. So here's what I put on Instagram after seeing her response. Kelly Dodd's just released response about her constant and undeniably racist social media is interesting for a few reasons. She understands Drunk Wives Matter was designed and gifted to her specifically because of her embrace of racist ideology. We get it's a take on words, babe. That's the fucking point. I'm much less interested in a non-apology from Kelly than I am in unpacking Bravo's continued silence on the matter. Kelly is and will always be a clown. What's concerning to me is the silence from the folks running the circus. Kelly is a current employee who uses her platform, created and amplified by Bravo, to loudly celebrate white supremacy, including right now in the comment section of her post. I genuinely don't care about Kelly's excuses. I care about why and how Bravo, Evolution Media, and the face of the network have remained silent. They've seemingly politicized concern about alienating MAGA viewership by choosing to remain quiet over active anti-racist action to defend Black viewers, talent, and staff. I'm not advocating for an Orange County boycott, though I understand why folks want one, and I personally don't plan to watch. I'm not even pushing for Kelly to be fired because that's essentially inevitable after the upcoming season. What I want to know is why Bravo won't take a stand and at base level use their enormous platform and reach to publicly say that Kelly's racist behavior is not tolerated, even if it's going to be monetized for upcoming season plot. Maybe if Kelly had continued to mock surrogacy or dog adoption instead of Black lives, this would merit a public response.
Listen, when I read your statement,
I shoot to kill is all I'm gonna say when I
my first thought was, oh my gosh, you belong on a Housewives show, because that was probably the most epic read since Phaedra read Kenya on Real Housewives of Atlanta at that reunion. Let me ask you a couple of questions.
Yeah.
You know, do you think what does a statement from the network look like at this point in time?
Kelly's behavior will not be tolerated. We do not excuse or condone racism by any of our talent or representatives of our network and scene.
Mm-hmm.
There are people in the Bravo community that have called for like a boycott of Orange County, whatever. I know personally I'm not going to be using time on Andy's Girls, which to discuss the upcoming season of Orange County for my own self-care. It would be too frustrating for me to watch Kelly in new content. When it comes to like boycotting, I think that's a really hard thing to quantify. If it's like thousands of people participating, you're not really going to see that in the ratings. You're not going to show how that looks. I think the easiest possible action for the network to do, which continues to be overwhelmingly frustrating for so many of us to even have to ask for it, is to say that racism by their employees or in life should not be tolerated and is unacceptable. And you don't do that by quietly signing into her DMs, texting her publicist, calling her. You do that by using that platform that Kelly has become famous from and on which she is currently still employed. And you say this won't be tolerated. And Bravo has a tricky history of that. They called out, I don't know, like a like a deckhand or something on the most recent season of Below Deck Med and said, Peter whomever said something racist, we're going to slim down his episodes. Okay. He's at like the lowest tier in terms of name recognition in the Bravo community. Then people are pointing to and sliding into my DMs and commenting on my post and saying, listen, they fired Stassi and Kristen for racist behavior. Why aren't they doing this for Kelly Dodd? To which I politely and respectfully push back and say, to my knowledge, Bravo never said anything about Stassi and Kristen's racist behavior. Stassi herself has said publicly she was fired for it, but Bravo never did. What Bravo did was publicly announce that Stassi and Kristen would not be returning to Vanderpump Rules. They never said that they were fired for racist behavior, even though that, to our knowledge and understanding, is why they were fired. They left it to press outlets covering the fact that these ladies weren't returning to say, well, obviously the timing here, this went viral with the interview with what Faith was saying. Obviously the dots are connected that they're being fired for this reason. But the network themselves never, to my knowledge, said that they were fired because of this racist behavior, nor did Andy. What Andy said on radio, Andy, was, I agree with the network's decision. And that to me is concerning because Bravo, well after other networks, including Nickelodeon, who did actually a pretty fucking great job of talking about Black Lives Matter and their responsibility as a network, said several days after they should have that to be silent is to be complicit, which they said in a social media post. And they changed, the link on their bio, and they, did a fantastic special, I thought, on race in America. And, they did amplify Black Voices Instagram Lives, which are also available on the website, which is great. It's good to use your platform, but you also have to be accountable because those are just words. And as I'm learning from being a Bravoholic, to be silent is to be complicit. Andy said in an episode of Watch What Happens Live that white silence is violence. So my question is, why are you silent now? And what does that say about this community? If the fans are saying because we care so much about this community being safe and welcoming for all Bravoholics and the folks who are Black who work at Bravo, the network, or any of these subsidiary production companies, or your Black talent. Like, how would I feel to be a Black Real Housewife and seeing that essentially a contemporary of mine, a peer who's amplified on the network, is saying racist shit and isn't being called out? How would that make me feel? And I've heard from Black podcasters, Black Bravoholics, people who are genuinely upset because they feel like they've been violated. Because they think, do I not matter at all to the community because I'm amplifying Bravo by using my platform to talk about housewives, to talk about how much we love Andy, Waka, Baby Ben. But now that I'm being hurt, that I'm being violated, why aren't they taking responsibility for that? I mean, I don't know. I don't have an answer. All I know is the purpose of Andy's Girls and of being obsessed with Bravo and loving Bravo is because I like talking about things that are happening and how I see what's going on screen. And in order to have like a perception of a feeling of an opinion, I bring it with it my life experience being, you know, a white heterosexual woman living in New York City in my own little bubble who's had a lot of life experiences that play into my perception of what's is going on screen. So how do I look at a peer in the Bravoholics community, a Black podcaster, a Black Bravoholic, someone who's running a Bravo fan-based Instagram account, and look at them and not speak up for them? Because I would want someone to do that for me. I feel like they have. In many ways, it feels like the Bravo community is only seen through the eyes of white viewers. And that's concerning. You know, like, where are these other voices? Why aren't they being heard? Why doesn't it matter that a member of the Bravo community who has been a member of the Bravo community as long as I have, if not longer, why aren't they being heard and respected when they're saying racism is bad? Why are we deciding that the foundation of the Bravo community, these people who have devoted hundreds and thousands of hours of their lives to talking about all things Bravo, who are now saying that I'm being harmed by what a current employed housewife is saying on social media over and over and over again? Why doesn't that matter? Like, why does drunk wives matter more? I don't know.
Listen, let me tell you something. A couple of things. I could listen to you talk all day.
Well, there are 179 episodes now. Take a week.
No, because I think what I marveled over this the first time we spoke on your show, it was just, I love the critical thinking and the way that you express your thoughts. And I think it really echoes what a lot of people are thinking, but not always able to as cleverly articulate as you. And I don't even think it's something that you're trying to do. It's just how you feel, you know? And so I really appreciate that. And that level of transparency, that level of care, I think it's important. And it's something that I feel like, you know, for me to see it and to be around it, I think is amazing. Let me just say that.
Thank you.
In terms of Kelly, do you think, and then we'll wrap up, do you think that they're not saying anything yet because it's going to be addressed in the season? Or do you think that they don't know yet what to do?
I think that they have known what to do when it's about issues that they feel personally connected to. And if you don't know what to do, it's probably because your executive suite is way too white. So if you don't have a response to this, knowing that every time they stay silent, she amps up her trolling, It only makes her more powerful when she feels that she's being silently supported by the network because they're not taking a public stance. So when you're not pushing back publicly and you're doing so privately, but you're a public network that's devoted to people's lives and making that aspect public, there's a real issue there. And there have been rumors of, that's because they're cutting her out of the season. I don't believe that. And I also don't think it matters. I think that when an employee of yours is using her public platform to say racist things and then continues to be combative in comments, including as recently as today, when she said that she was told to essentially apologize by her PR and everybody should essentially shut the fuck up, I think that there's a problem because she's able to say these things because she's not getting countered. She's not getting countered by the face of the network who's beloved in the Bravo community, and she's not being countered by the network itself. And it's not enough to say this is who Kelly is. She's a troll, because you have a responsibility to your audience to make sure that like the Black segment of your audience feels safe. And if a face of the network whose upcoming season in a matter of days is set to premiere with a plot around her racism and the cast response to it, plus the spread of misinformation, which she's become sort of an ace at as regarding all things coronavirus and more, you need to say that that is wrong. You can't just say a wink and a nod, we know she's crazy. Of course we know she's crazy, but our question is, why aren't you defending us? You know better. Kelly might not, but the network does. And that is a problem.
Well, honestly, I'm at a loss at this point because it's just confusing to watch, because I do agree with you. The more time that goes by that nothing is said about it, I feel like the more entitled she becomes and the more she thinks she's winning.
Isn't she?
It's the arrogance of it all that's just becoming the most disturbing thing at this point, because it's just kind of like she feels like she can say whatever she wants because she feels like she's bringing in the ratings. So that's very problematic. And the crazy thing about it is, I had committed to watching Orange County this season because, obviously it's a new season. I'm curious to see how it's going to play out without Vicky and Tamara. I'm curious to see how they handle the whole, pandemic situation. So many things I was curious about, but it's kind of hard to be excited about it because this person who, just continues to say such like reckless stuff is still there, and she's gone, and it's gone unspoken about. And the thing about it is, we all love the network. We just really, I think you said it best. We want something to be done, an acknowledgement.
And I think that I hope that they understand that it's because of that love. I love Bravo. I love the Bravo community, but the Bravo community is formed and created. The foundation of it is Bravoholics. And I just think if the fans are saying this is not okay, but the network isn't, it's a disservice to all viewers. And it's unfortunate that we feel that we're in a position where Housewives, which is so important to so many of us, we've been following these women for over 10 years, well over a decade, where you have to make a decision. Am I supporting the network silence by watching Orange County, which I don't think is fair. I think in the time of Corona, where there are so few things that provide escapism, joy, and on another point, like connect you to people, that if you want to watch Orange County, I'm not going to stand in that person's way. I'm going to say that I personally can't watch it because it's too upsetting to me, knowing the network's silence and not feeling that, to me, Kelly's behavior, it's crossed over past entertaining to something really dangerous and dark. And there's no light that the upcoming season can provide. And so I personally am not comfortable talking about Orange County right now, while also noting that as a woman with a voice, I get to decide if I want to change my mind. But I get to decide like how I want to use my platform. Right now, what a strange point in time that being someone who's seen every single episode of every franchise, including Miami and DC, at least twice, that I can't watch Orange County. It's a very strange thing. I stand for Shan. She's my number one.
Oh my God, me too.
It's a complicated relationship. If I can introduce you to the love of my life, Archie Bador, who I don't know if you can see him. My beta fish, named after an Andy's Girls listener. The name of my fish is Archie Bador. His personality is to the T. He's like a Labrador of fish. He's still alive. I just checked in. The fact that I'm not able to support my number one complicated housewife is a difficult decision for me. But it's just, at the end of the day, we are in very dark times right now. You got to do what's best for you. And for me, unfortunately, based in large part on the network's continued silence, I can't, in good faith, watch Orange County. That's where we are.
I understand. I completely understand. I just want to say thank you so much for, taking the time out to talk to us about this. This is like kind of the first of, what I'm trying to do. And I'm really glad that this first was with you. Can you tell us everywhere we can find anything you're doing so that anybody who is listening or watching can also follow?
I mean, swipe right on Hinge, number one, obviously most important. I'm on Instagram at Dame Galli. More information on me, myself, and I can be found at sarahgalli.com. And you can listen to weekly episodes of my Housewives podcast, Andy's Girls, by listening wherever you listen to your favorite pods, iTunes, Spotify, so on and so forth. And it's a combination. Andy's Girls is a combination, I like to say, of C-SPAN and Ayanla, Fix My Life. So it is like talking about the minutia of Housewives, but through the lens of psychology. So you've been an amazing guest. You need to come back on the People's Couch super soon.
I will. And
thank you for forcing me to put on makeup. Have we not mentioned the shoes? I feel like that's the number one talking point. Do we just, guys, this isn't a background. This is real life, okay?
She's also a fashion influencer. Get into it.
I influence my credit card debt all day long.
Oh my God, Sarah, thank you so much. Yeah, guys, listen, subscribe to this channel. I'm not sure how long. I'm going to try to keep all of the podcast episodes here on YouTube. If I do anything extra, I'll let you guys know. But for now, I want to thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys subscribe, hit that like button, give me a comment. Let us know what your thoughts are about this situation with Kelly Dodd, what you would like to see the network do. And if you're going to be watching the Real Housewives of Orange County this season. Sarah, thank you so much for participating, and we will see you guys in the next video.
Thank you.